Hello, this is Heather Hoffman, and today I have a fun scene card to share with you using some of the most recent release from ReverseConfetti. I'm starting off with a piece of pattern paper from the new Sun and Sea 6x6 pattern paper pad, and I'm trimming that down just to the width of an A2 card, so 4¼ inches wide, and then just kind of roughly, a little unequally, but kind of trimming in half, sort of in there. I'm going to be using the Bubbles Confetti cuts, also one of the new release, and I'm using kind of in a different way. I'm sort of using the negative of it to create kind of a bubble edge on my pattern paper, making sure that my stripes match up there so I don't do this crooked in the wrong way. And now that I've got both edges cut, I can layer this over a white card base like so. You can kind of see what I'm planning out in there. Before I do that though, I'm going to also die cut the Bubbles confetti cuts and use it as a stencil with a little bit of Buttercup Dye Ink. That's just going to kind of add a soft little textured background to there. So it's kind of using that Bubbles confetti cuts two different ways. I'm going to line up my shorter one. I ended up switching around and putting on the bottom, and then I'm using a little post-it tape to hold that top piece in place. That way I can use my paper trimmer just to trim it down to the width I want. I could kind of measure or guesstimate, but that works really good for me to know I'm getting it exactly where I wanted it. Now that I've adhered those in place, I'm going to grab all the cute little crab images and then a couple other little bonus images from the new Let's Shellabrate. That's a hard one to say. I'm going to stamp those on Premier Polar White cardstock using Midnight Dye Ink. And then I've used an assortment of Copic markers just to color them in. And I'm showing all my coloring here. I kind of forgot to zoom in when I did that, so I'm sorry that that's a little far away. So I just kind of did it fast. I've written the names of the Copic markers that I've used for this on the screen, so you can find those or follow along. They'll also be in the video description on YouTube or in the blog post on the ReverseConfetti blog if you want a listing of those markers. But I'm kind of starting off, I colored the rocks gray, the shells I kind of colored a couple different colors, the crabs I'm only using basically 2 colors of Copics for each part, and I'm just coloring in with the lighter color, adding a little shading, and then on the crabs I'm using the darker shade for all the little tiny elements just because it's too hard to blend 2 colors on some of those little tiny legs or little pieces like that. So the easiest way is just to kind of color those with the dark because they're kind of a darker area anyway, and then a tiny little bit of shading with the darker color, and then coming back with the lighter color to blend between the two. So even though you can't see what color I'm using on each of these, just know with the shades I listed that I'm using the lighter first, adding some shadow with the darker, and then blending between the two with the lighter color. With the bucket, I didn't realize how similar the 2 colors I'd picked, so I did end up pulling out one more darker shade of that kind of blue-green color. And I'm just finishing to add a little shadow and kind of hit some of the darker elements. All right, once I was done coloring, I went ahead and used the coordinating dies to cut those out. Now I'm going to plan how to arrange them on my card. And I just kind of laid them out until I liked the scene and I kind of liked how everything was tucked in and around. Then I grabbed a little bit of press and seal. This is one of my favorite Jennifer McGuire tricks. And then I can pick up that entire scene, all those little beaded pieces. I don't have to remember where I had them in place. Once upon a time, I used to take a picture with my cell phone and then just put the tape on each one and pop them into place. But this way I know my scene is already exactly how I laid it out and how I like it. Add my foam adhesive, spin it around, and press it into place and peel that press and seal off. All right, final step, I'm going to use some RC Aqua cardstock, and I'm going to heat emboss my sentiment from that same stamp set that I used for all my images. Heat embossing it on white, then I can use my paper trimmer, trim it down to a thin strip, and I'm quickly once I plan kind of where I wanted the crab's little claw to fit, I just use my scissors to quickly roughly trim it off. I can't cut a straight line to save my life without my paper trimmer, so I just did it that way, trimmed an angle, and adhered that right under those cute little crabs in that fun scene. Thanks so much for coming by today. I hope you enjoyed. Hope you have a wonderful day.